In this video training, we'll look at what is the driving force behind the consumer. It's got different components to it. The first one being expectation. Well, the quickest way to attract and keep a consumer is by exceeding the expectations. When you do so, you position your business as a market leader within the consumer's mind, and they start to have a very high regard of what you as a business are capable of doing or producing. And this leads them to talk about your business wherever they go, whenever they get an opportunity to do so. And so when you're asking what are those consumer expectations and how do we go about exceeding those expectations, it's very, very simple. In our book, Vision Straight's Practical Guide for Optometric Staff, page 89, we have a chart here in terms of how do you exceed consumer expectations. And we break it down between the patient, the customer, and the client. As we have done throughout this course, we have alluded to who your patient is, who the customer is, and who the client is. And in this chart, we actually indicate that there are 9 consumer expectations that they have, whether it be the patient, the customer, and the client. So for example, the first characteristic that you need to be aware of as an expectation that consumers have is they all have a question. What is the question what question does the patient have? The patient has the question of what is my diagnosis? What is wrong with my eyes, right? Whereas the customer, it's more about prognosis, because the customer has already worn glasses or contact lenses before. So they want to know what is happening. Is my vision getting worse, getting better, or staying the same? Whereas the client, they already know what their problem is. They already know because they've been wearing glasses or contact lenses for years coming to your own practice. So the question that they have at the back of their mind, they're not going to tell you this, is when they come to your practice, are you ready, prepared, expectant for them to come? Are you treating them like you know who they are, that you are ready, everything is preset for them when they come back? So that's the question that they have, because that's the question that helps them determine whether or not do they keep coming back to you as the visual needs provider or visual requirements provider, or do they start going elsewhere? So are you prepared for the client when they come? So that's the question that they have. So you need to exceed expectations on all 3 individuals. Next one, the answers that are required the most by the patient, for example, is what caused their problem. That's what they're wanting to know, what caused their problem. And so if you can communicate that, if you can effectively ensure that they understand what was the cause of their problem, you start already being in the process of having an opportunity to exceed the expectations. Whereas the customer, the management options that are available. Remember, the customer already comes in wearing glasses or contact lenses, or they've had a previous experience of wearing them. So your important job is to establish what their experience was before, right? So the answer that they have at the back of their mind, remember the question was prognosis. So the answer that they have, that they want or that they require the most is, okay, if this is my prognosis, what then are my management options that are available right now, or management solutions? Here's our approach. We refer to management solutions, not options. Options, it means you're going to be choosing between this or that. Solutions, it means you're communicating from problem 1, there's the solution. Problem 2, there's the solution. But options sounds like one is better than the other one. Whereas solutions is that problem will be solved by that solution. This problem will be solved by that solution. If you don't go with the solution that we are recommending for the problem, understand that this is what you'll be losing when you don't go with it. But if you're going with it, this is what you'll be gaining if you go with it. So communicate solutions, don't communicate options. Because with options, it means I can choose between this one or that one. And I'll be making my decision based on price, affordability, whether there's a special or a deal. So you see, you're missing out on an opportunity when you're communicating options instead of creating opportunities when you're communicating management solutions. And so that's basically the management solutions that are available for the individual customer. Whereas the client, the answer that they require the most is relationship building. Very, very important that you are building strong, solid relationships with your clients. You have to have a connection with your client. In actual, you have to have a connection with everyone. But the answer that's required the most by the client is how greatly invested are you in the rebuilding of that relationship that has already been established. Because you're not starting from the ground. You're not starting from a low base. You're starting from the fact that this person already has been coming to your practice for some time. Very important that you need to establish and ask the client, Nkosi, you keep coming back to your practice. What is it that makes you keep coming back to your practice? When you know that answer, you better make sure that you constantly delivering on that which makes them come to your practice, and you are exceeding way above what they expect from your practice. Very, very important. So the easiest way to expect, get the information. So it's the easiest tool. That's what we do. We are always asking for feedback from people that are getting access to our products. How did you experience this? How did you experience this? Is there anything that we could have done better? Is there anything that you feel that we should stop doing at all? Because feedback is very, very important in ensuring that we're keeping our various consumers happy. But secondly, we are constantly fine-tuning our solutions offering to the respective consumers or clients that we are constantly doing business with. And the number one need for the patient, the treatment plan. The customer, the number one need, the cost implications. Because remember, there's a likelihood that you are communicating or advising or recommending a product upgrade when you're communicating with that respective customer, because their prognosis, the management solutions that you've communicated, now they want to know what are the cost implications involved with regards to that which you have recommended. Whereas the client, treat them like the most important person to have walked into your practice. You win them over easier when they feel like, wow, every time I come here, I'm being treated like the most important individual. Here's the mistake that practices make. They are very selective with regards who they treat as important. So the person that has been coming to the practice for 10 years, spending anything above 10,000 rands every time, versus that person that has been coming to the practice and spending 600 rands for a pair of single vision spectacles gets treated differently from the person that has been spending lots of money in the practice. Your clients are anyone who has been coming to your practice year after year for their visual requirements. Make sure that you are laying the red carpet for them. You are exceeding the expectations. You are making them feel like, wow, I've never experienced this before. That's what you do with your clients. What you do with everyone else, and I will show you right now when we get to the end of this example with regards to expectations, is service excellence. Service excellence is the treatment card that you're producing for everyone else. And I will show you now how you're going about that. And so, what does the patient want as the next characteristic? This is the fourth one. They want solutions, right? They want the solutions that you're recommending to fit in within their budget. Because remember, they don't have an awareness of what the costs are going to be. And so and so you make sure that you are providing them with solutions that speak directly to addressing their problems based on what you have found as a problem. Very, very important. Whereas the want for our customer is follow-ups. Follow-ups. And this helps you because you will have identified what their previous experience was in order for you then to exceed that experience and make sure that this time round, what they experience in the optometric practice is far better, more superior than what they experienced before. So one of the key areas to do that is post the service, follow up, to make sure that that which you have upgraded them on is doing that which you said it will do. And then for the client, it's more business development within the practice. So they want to see innovation, they want to see growth, they want to see new things happening, technological advancements. That's very, very important for the client because it shows that you are not becoming complacent. You are moving with the times. You are innovative. You are growing in different components of your service offering as a practice. The challenges of a patient is the costs involved because they want everything to fit in the medical budget, for example, right? So if you way above the budget and you have not effectively communicated the value of what they will be gaining versus what they will be losing, they will most likely not go with what you're recommending. And then for the customer, the challenges there is record keeping. That's the thing, that it's all about the overall experience that they're getting from your practice. And so one of the things, especially if they come into your practice for the second time around, do you have the information that they gave you last time? And you must make sure that record keeping is up to scratch when it comes to the customer. Whereas the challenges with regards to the client is they're constantly wanting specialized deals and specials. Very, very problematic in this area because they don't want to spend a lot and they're constantly wanting those discounts. But if you can get your clients to buy on shorter intervals as opposed to waiting for the 2-year cycle, you will win with them. And then the outcomes for the patient, return date. Very, very important that you're communicating with them when they have to return. And if they don't return, this is what they're going to be experiencing and so forth. So a return date needs to be communicated. Service improvements for the customer is very, very important as an outcome, whereas value as a client is what is important as an outcome. Financials regarding, remember this is the characteristics, financials regarding the patient, the benefits of the management plan, whereas the customer is the features and benefits of the management solutions. So with the patient, basically, you are literally highlighting solutions to problems. So every problem that you have come up with or have identified throughout the process, you are alluding the necessary solution to it. In terms of the management solutions, this is what and why you're recommending that. Whereas the customer, it's that upgrade that you're now communicating about. This is the benefits and the clinical features of it. Whereas the client, if there's loyalty and if they understand the value, they will buy on regular intervals and they'll buy far more than what they need and on a more regular basis. And so that's what basically has to do with the financials with regards to the client. The desires for the patient is they want quick solutions at low cost, whereas the customer, they want progressive solutions at similar cost than what they spent before, whereas the client, they want loyalty from you and they will be loyal to your business. And finally, the do's, competence should be the number one thing that the patient can identify with when they come to your practice. Whereas service delivery improvements is what should be the biggest do for the practice regarding the customer. Whereas the client, it's relationship building, which is critical that the practice needs to do. And so this is the information that you can get in this book. I just wanted to highlight it to you before we continue with the rest of the training so that you understand that there are different consumer expectations that the patient, the customer, and the client all have. And if you have an awareness of that as a practice, it becomes much easier for you then to know how do you then exceed those expectations. Driving force number 2 with regards to the consumer as a whole, it's experience. A worthwhile experience results in a worthy expenditure. Very, very important that people feel welcome. People feel like, wow, you are ready for them. You are expected to them. Create an environment where they feel appreciated. They feel taken care of. They feel that their visual problems are of a priority to your practice. Make them feel that you are not just a practice that is just trying to get them a pair of spectacles. Make them feel like you are there to come and take care of all the visual related problems as best as you possibly can. And that's what's important. You want to create an environment, an experience for them that is memorable, that they will never forget. And then the third one is environment. The attitude of the team determines the atmosphere of the practice. The atmosphere of the practice determines the altitude of the business. And therefore, it is imperative that your environment is focused on the following characteristics that influence it the most. Number one, a positive attitude that all employees need to have, because a positive attitude determines the energy in the practice and the environment that your practice is in. People will pick up from that energy that exists in the practice. Attitude is number one, very, very important. Number two, excellence. Excellence should be the only standard operating procedures that is acceptable in this practice. And one of the things that can help you is to ensure that you've got a standard operating procedures manual that operates as a framework or a guideline towards this is the standard in the practice, and this is how we deliver on it. This is the results or the benefits when we exceed these expectations, and these are the consequences when we deliver below what we are expected to do. And you make sure that everyone is operating on the same page. Number three, competence. The thing about competence is that always deliver on what you promise. Always make sure that you deliver. You cannot fall short of this. And one of the things that also plays a massive component with regards to competence is training. Training on consumer analytics, communication skills, service delivery, sales, product knowledge, leadership. Different components need to be trained about on a weekly basis. You cannot afford to have the practice that you have, whether you are turning over 2 million a month or 200,000 rands a month, irrespective of the size or the type of optometric practice that you have. Training and development is critical to the success of that optometric practice. So you need to schedule it. You need to have clear framework in place, clear guidelines in place as to when do you train, what do you train on, do you get external training or trainers coming on board, what type of workshops need to be done, how often or regular should the training be, why the training, making sure that everyone on the team is competent. So even if you're hiring a new person, you have to have a clear plan of action to say within the next 6 months, this is the training that this individual needs to have gone through. And at the end of the 6 months, this is what this person needs to be able to produce. It's very, very important that training and development is key in the success of you ensuring that as a practice are competent. Next, relationship building. This has to do with a personalized approach to service delivery. And the last one, problem solving. Become a problem solving practice. Communicate the problems that you are solving. Communicate how you're solving those problems. Communicate why you're solving problems. Communicate how life looks like post a problem being solved. So it's very, very important that your consumers understand, know, see, believe, connect with the fact that you solve problems. And that's basically the driving force behind a consumer with regards to the environment. We are alluding to a fourth one here, excellence. We are alluding to it again because excellence should be the order of the day. Nothing else, nothing less, nothing more. Excellence. And the only way to know that you are excellent is to have clear guidelines in terms of what do you as a practice deem to be excellent for your business. And then everyone needs to be on the same page. And the last one is education. Constantly look for opportunities within your current systems for how you can do what you do more effectively and more efficiently. One of the things, for example, as a staff member in an optometric practice, you could be working in a practice that sees all the medical aids, but on a day-to-day basis, there's probably the top 5 that you see. Part of education, for example, is that you have to take the onus upon yourself as a staff member in ensuring that you understand that, wait a minute, these are the top 5 medical aids that we see on a regular basis. and this is what they pay. These are the different options that they have on the optical benefit options. And so when someone comes in and they mention the medical aid option that they are using, you already, and it's part of the top 5, you need to already be in a position where you know that this medical aid pays as following for these products, whether it be multifocal, bifocal, single vision, contact lenses, coatings, extras. You need to know whether it comes from a savings option or out of the optical benefit option. You need to be so competent, so confident in the medical aid communication that you're having with the respective consumer. This thing of you always having to go to your file and checking, but you've been in the optometric practice for 3 years, it's completely unacceptable. You have to be in a position where immediately, if it's a medical aid that you see on a regular basis, you're confident in giving out the information to the respective consumer that wants it. So that's what I mean about education. If it's a quiet day in the practice, it's your responsibility to go and research that, wait a minute, these frames, this is what's different about these frames. If someone comes in looking for a round frame, on this price range, on this price range, on that price range, I've got the frame that is specific to someone who wants a round frame. Someone who's looking for a metal frame in this price range, in that price range, and so forth. You need to constantly educate yourself. Look at different ways in which you can improve what you're doing, how you're doing it, in a manner that you're constantly bettering yourself, so that the people that are coming to your practice for services and products are going to experience something different and unique that they will never experience anywhere else. And so basically that's the driving force behind the consumer. One of the things that is very, very important as a team is you need to have clear strategies in place pertaining to families that come to the practice, business owners, corporate working class, majority of South Africans, sports individuals, people at home as a result of new restrictions, for example. Whatever different type of consumers that come to your practice, it's very, very important that you as a team are having a clear understanding of, guys, what is our approach on social media? Who are we targeting? Who are we targeting through our website? Who are we targeting through our marketing activities? Who are we targeting through our communication strategies? Very, very key that you are fully in a position to understand how best to approach the different consumers. And once you're clear on that, it will become much easier then for you to understand what the driving force is behind the different consumers.